The sole purpose of this video is to provide a basic overview and orientation of your new apparatus. This video is not intended to act as or replace individualized driver-operator training. Individual fire departments may base guidelines, policies, and procedures tailored for best practices. Pierce Manufacturing and Hughes Fire Equipment representatives are not liable for injuries caused from acts resulting from actions inconsistent with the information provided within this video and/or accompanying manuals. Refer to the Operation and Maintenance Manual for complete details relating to the components and features of this apparatus. Only trained personnel should operate this vehicle or perform maintenance. You are responsible for learning how to operate this fire apparatus under all conditions without having to refer to the manual while operating at an emergency incident. This video will discuss types of warnings and caution labels. It is your responsibility to locate and identify each of the labels and understand the importance and associated hazards. Warning labels will point out procedure that must be taken or action that must be avoided to guard against the possibility of serious injury or death. Caution labels will advise you that there is a risk of damage to property if certain precautions are not followed. Continuous training, reviewing of operation and service manuals, developing good standardized practices will assist driver operators with a more complete understanding of the components and operation of this fire apparatus. As the driver operator of this vehicle, you are responsible for understanding the function of each component of the apparatus, maintaining control of the fire apparatus at all times while in operation, make operational and functional changes while operating at an emergency without having to read operator's instructions or safety warning labels, operate manual override and emergency shutdown procedures immediately if a component fails to operate properly. Components location may vary with each Pierce fire apparatus. Review the exact location of each component prior to operation. Major inconsistencies between your vehicle and the information contained in this video should be directed to your sales representative. Safe operation of any vehicle is the responsibility of the driver operator. You must learn the location and function of all controls, switches, gauges, valves, inlets, and discharges. Due to a higher center of gravity, heavy trucks have a significantly higher rollover tendency than other types of vehicles. To reduce the risk of rollover, avoid making sharp turns, excessive speed, and avoid abrupt maneuvers. In the event of a rollover crash, an unbelted person is significantly more likely to become injured or die than a person wearing a seatbelt. In the event of a crash, unbuckled occupants can also become a hazard to other occupants as they may be thrown around inside the cab. Seatbelts are required while in operation. Please refer to your warranty certificates for details and information enclosed in your manuals. Customer-installed equipment must be mounted to withstand road travel and comply with NFPA 1901. Modifications such as drilling holes or welding to structural frame components of the chassis are not permitted. Contact Pierce for instruction and review of non-structural sheet metal or other dissimilar metals for modification. Follow the radio installation guide for further assistance on installing or mounting electronics. Before placing your new apparatus into service, perform a primary inspection of key components of the apparatus, including all fluid levels, anti-lock braking systems, electronic stability control, and automatic traction control. Weigh your apparatus to ensure that it conforms to axle and brake ratings. Never exceed the gross axle rating printed on the label inside the cab. Exceeding these ratings could lead to reduced component life, personal injury, or death. Review the use of auxiliary braking systems, compression brake, exhaust brake, electronic retarder, and hydraulic retarder. Before placing the apparatus in service, refer to the operational maintenance manuals. Information on the operation and maintenance functions for the components such as the pump, pressure governor, and foam systems, along with other options, is provided in either the Pierce manuals and/or other manufacturer support information delivered with the apparatus. If you need more information, please contact Hughes Fire Equipment. Congratulations, Redmond, Oregon, on your new apparatus, job number 29802. Please utilize this job number when referencing your new apparatus with Hughes Fire Equipment. Let's get started on a brief orientation. Starting just under the front bumper, you have two right and left open tow hooks. Mounted in the center is a 9,000-pound capacity forward-facing attachment point. On the front bumper itself, there is a mechanical siren. Moving inward to the center, an electronic siren. Moving to the driver's side, there are two air horns. Moving up onto the top of the bumper, this is going to be a tub for hose storage. Moving just up to the section where the grill is located, these are going to be emergency warning lights across the front. On the outside, you have a turn marker. Moving to the inside, this is your headlight cluster. The high beam is in the center and the low beam is on the outer edge. Moving up from that location, you have a left and right turn indicator. Moving inward of that cluster, there is an emergency warning light. Moving up to the very top of the brow, these are your 5 running lights. Moving to the center, this is a fixed forward-facing floodlight. Moving up to the very top of the apparatus on the roof, this is your warning lights or emergency lights. Down underneath the bottom, there are 2 open-ended tow hooks in this location. To the center area, this is going to be your hitch attachment. This is your 12-volt access point with a red cover. Moving to the center, this is your female portion of the 2x2-inch hitch mount. This is a 9,000 maximum allowable winch capacity. Looking underneath the bumper, this is the drain for your front 1.5 inch discharge. On the side, right and left, there are warning lights. In addition, at the very top on the body, this is the marker light that I referred to earlier. Some generalized close-ups of the air horns. Looking closer at the mechanical siren. On the left, an electronic siren in the center. We're now looking into the front of the bumper area where the hose bed is located for the front bumper hose. This is an 1.5 inch swivel discharge for the front. These are your warning lights in the very front of the grill. Moving all the way up to the very top, just a close-up of your forward-facing floodlight. And inside the light bar, this is where you'll find at the very top your opticom. I think I have a better picture of that in the next set of images. Here's a location of your opticom just inside. Generalized view of the driver's side of the vehicle. We'll talk a little bit about some of those components in the next set of images. You have fixed mounted mirrors on the left and right hand side. Those mirrors are encompassed of a flat portion on the top and a convex portion on the bottom. This is Paramedic Engine Company 421. There are locking door locks on each side, as you can see, that are keyed. At the very top, you have a side facing for left and right scene lights. In the very bottom, these are your wheels, Goodyear G296s. In the center, Stemco hub. Moving up onto the top of the cab, this is a visual indicator for your water tank. Green at the very top, meaning a full tank, red at the bottom, empty or nearly empty. Generalized view of the side of your apparatus. Let's move into the pump area. This is going to be a step that folds out. We'll talk a little bit about that in the next slides. On the left-hand side of this, you'll find the black release. Release the mechanism, which will allow the step to flip into its open position and allow you a larger foot space in this step. Here it is in its displayed, fully open position. Let's go ahead and start looking at some of the components within your pump panel. Starting on the left-hand side, this is going to be your number 1 discharge colored in red. Moving down from this location, you have a number 3 discharge. These are both 2.5 inch. This is going to be your large diameter intake. Up at the very top, your large diameter intake override. This requires a tool. Moving down to the right-hand side, this is your draft foam tank inlet. Moving down, this is the number 1 driver's side drain. Moving to the right, this is your driver's side auxiliary inlet, which is a 2.5 inch inlet. Moving down, these are your discharges for number 3 for the drain. Pump drain and driver's side. This is going to be the drain that's associated with the driver's side auxiliary inlet. As we look at the body of the apparatus, this first roll-up door, we'll take a look at some of the components within inside that door. At the very top, you can see that there is a divider here for longboard storage, and at the very top, a 2.5 inch discharge. You can see on the right-hand side, this is your pre-plumbed 2.5 inch discharge. It is a speed load, which allows you to remove the entire load and the black ABS plastic. This is the location for your longboards. Moving down here to this lever, by lifting this lever to the up position, allows the actual speed load to be removed. Same with the lower section. This is your number 1 cross lay and number 2 cross lay. Lift the lever, it allows those speed loads to be removed. Just a visual image of those speed loads partially opened or in the open position. Let's go ahead and move to the next set of compartments just to the right of that roll-up door. In your large roll-up door here, this is going to house at the very bottom your wheel chocks. You can also see a light at the very bottom. And as we look underneath, look inside to this compartment, this is a general view of your pump panel in addition with your compartment space. Let's start by looking in the upper section of your pump panel. When properly engaged, you'll find this red light on. This means that your pump has been engaged. Here is some information regarding reading warning labels regarding operating your pump. Just beneath that is your Pierce maintenance schedule. We also have some more detailed images of some of these components also. This is going to be your tank level for foam A. Moving to the right of that, your master intake. Moving to the right of that location, these are your discharge ports for vacuum and pressure. At the very top, master discharge. Moving to the very right hand side of your pump panel, this is your PCM fault. It's an amber light, and just underneath that, this is an audible source which has a control of turning to make it louder or turning to make it not as loud. Once again, red light on, properly engaged pump. Moving down just to the next section beneath this, this is the warning individual for trained personnel operating this pump and this apparatus. Once again, your minimum operational maintenance schedule. This provides a variety of information that's helpful for you. At the very top, it has your job number. Moving down, this is your pump test pressure at 150, 200, and 250. The associated GPMs with that, with the RPMs on the far right-hand side. At the very bottom of this is your govern speed for your apparatus. Moving just to the right of that, this is going to be your Tank Vision Pro. This is the indication level for empty, quarter, half, 3/4 for your foam levels. Close-up shot of your master intakes and those test gauge ports. This is once again that amber light for your PCM fault. Just beneath that area, we'll take a generalized view of these gauges, but we'll break them down individually next. Starting on the left-hand side, this is going to be your front discharge. This is the discharge that's in the bumper. It also has foam capabilities. Number 1 cross lay has foam capabilities. Number 2 cross lay additionally has foam capabilities. Moving to the far right-hand side, just above what we mentioned earlier, this is going to be the location of your 2.5 inch cross lay, which has foam capabilities also. And as you see all the way to the very far right-hand side,
This is going to be your rear discharge. Looking at the right-hand side here, this is your primer for fire pump. It's the Trident Air Prime. Moving to the right-hand side to your Pierce governor, this is going to be the check engine light. If that is illuminated, you'll also have RPMs, which is a digital tachometer. Moving to the right, this is an indicator if lit for the stop engine. Moving down across the bars across the bottom, this is for your water, oil, battery, fuel information on your engine. Moving down, this is going to be your water tank indicator from empty to full. You also have a push button silence. Just beneath that, this is where you scroll through your menus, which would be seen at the very bottom. Moving to your far left of this pressure governor, this allows you to inform you if you're in the mode of pressure control. This is the digital readout to the inside of that. And moving to the other side, this would be for your tachometer or RPM control. Moving down to the very bottom is the control module. Moving to the inside of that is your throttle ready to engage. And moving to the outside in green would be if you had some pre-designated presets. That's the location for this switch. Moving down to the very bottom is a right turn to increase the throttle and make sure that the light is illuminated that says throttle ready. Let's go ahead and look over here. This is your Bert. This is a mast system for light on the top. Let's look on the left-hand side. This is the driver's side, passenger side flood, in addition with your rear flood and some future locations for future switches. Let's go ahead and move up onto the pump panel itself. Generalized view. We'll take this next section here as we start in the upper left-hand corner. This is going to be your driver inlet. These are electric valves. Moving to the right, passenger main inlet. Let's move just to the right of that. This is going to be your air intake for the relief, correction, this is your intake relief pressure. Next down is your intake relief valve so that you can control the setting of that. To the right of that, this is your Husky foam system. And moving back all the way to the very left-hand side, this is the location of your tank and recirculating fill line. And to the right of that, your tank to pump. All of the valves here are all locking valves that have the locking mechanism at the end of the valve handle. Here's instructions and specifications on your Husky 3 foam system. And these are the electric valves for passenger side number 1 and your large diameter passenger side discharge. Moving to the very far right-hand side, you can see just a small portion of it. This is your Deluxe discharge. We'll now move down to the lower section of your pump panel. We'll talk a little bit about some of the components here. First, let's take a look at that first primer drain. This is not a pull. This is going to be a turn to make that drain work. Just underneath that, moving from left to right all the way across, you have a driver's main air inlet bleeder. You have a passenger inlet bleeder. You have number 1 cross lane, number 2, the 2.5 driver's side, manifold, and also your foam. Just up inside, you'll see the compartment here, or access door. We'll talk a little bit about some of the components behind that. This is going to be for your foam fill. There are instructions on the left-hand side of the panel door. On the very bottom, there's going to be a red switch, which you can see somewhat on the right-hand side here. The next image will give you a little bit more clear view here. This is a cover that covers the switch. This is for your manual pump shift override. When it's engaged, you'll see the amber light lit. Once again, this is your foam for foam fill. Let's go ahead and move to the very top of the body on this location. You have a scene light and a floodlight. Let's go ahead and take a look inside the compartment. Same roll-up door. You have pegboard on the top shelf. Moving down from that location, there are 3 drawers. The yellow handle is the mechanism that allows them to move into the open position. Let's go ahead and look underneath these drawers, and this is where you'll find your fold-up wheel chock. Looking into that compartment, this is going to be an adjustable shelf. We'll go ahead and take a look at inside these compartments in the next set of images also. Let's start with the lower section of compartments. At the very front, this is going to be for bottle storage. You have a lower bottle storage a side bottle storage, and an upper smaller bottle storage. This is going to be your side marker, turn indicator. As we look to the rear of this apparatus, just over the wheel, you'll find an emergency light and then a long panel in the back of that. This panel is going to be the house that holds your DEF and your diesel fuel. Unique situation here. The silver cap is your diesel fill. Clearly indicates that on the top. To access the DEF, simply slide or pull down the access door, revealing the blue DEF fill location. Let's move up to the vertical compartment here. There is a adjustable shelf inside with illuminating lights. Generalized view, not a good shot, but you can see inside. You do have on-spot chains. But let's go ahead and look at the rear compartment here, and we'll talk a little bit about more of those chains as we move forward. Revealing at the very top up here at the top of the body, once again a side flood and a scene light, and at the very top a marker light. Let's go ahead and look inside this compartment here. At the very top you have two adjustable shelves. Moving down you have a pull-out shelf. Once the pull-out shelf is in the out position, you can access the doors to lift, and those doors will reveal storage location underneath. This is a split door, 50-50. And this is showing it with both of the compartment doors in the open position and the shelf fully out. Underneath at the very bottom, you have a pull-out shelf also, and just underneath that you can see the wheel chock. But let's talk a little bit about the wheel chock on your left, but more importantly on the right. This is an additional 9,000 pound allowable winch rating here. Just to the right of this location will be your 12-volt access point. That's the red cover here, and then just above that, initial warning light. Let's take a look at the encompassing rear of the apparatus, and we'll get into a lot of the details here in the next set of images. Let's start in the lower section on the left. This is your reverse light. Moving up from that reverse light is going to be your left and right turn. Moving up from that location is going to be your brake light. These are all LED lights. Moving just inside of that location, this will point out this is going to be the switch which turns on your rear floodlights. Moving up from that location is your license plate mount, which is illuminated. Moving to the side of that location and slightly up is an emergency warning light. Moving inside that, this small vertical compartment is where your ladder storage is. And just above that is another emergency light and marker light. But just inside of that, this is going to be an additional location for pike poles in the small compartment here. Moving up to the top, this is a rear-facing flood. And moving up to the very top, this is going to be a rear-facing scene. Let's go ahead and take a look more toward the center. You have a 2.5-inch discharge port here. Moving inward of that location, this is going to be your backup or reverse camera. Moving down from that location, you can see that there are 3 running lights across the lower portion where the camera is located. And moving up to the top is another compartment for long pole storage. Let's take a look at the ladder on the right-hand side. It's indicating now that there is a latch located on that spot, and we'll get back to that in just a moment. But let's look underneath. Once again, you have a hitch in the back, 12-volt access for your hitch, and underneath perimeter lights. Let's take a look at the close-ups of your LED reverse, turn, and brake lights. This is going to be the rear scene light, which operates the light at the very top. This is the switch for that. With the compartment door open, you have a 24-foot extension and a 14-foot roof. Moving up to the top, this is your folding ladder at the top, and you have long pole storage for pike poles or various other long tools. Just a couple of close-ups of your lighting package in the back, but let's talk a little bit about the ladder and some of the components within inside this compartment here that rolls up. As you roll this compartment door up, you'll find a netting here. This will secure the items inside that compartment additionally. To open this, just merely undo the 4 buckles here. This removes it to the upper portion, which gains access to the lower portion, in addition to your flat, what appears to be maybe airbag storage. This is going to be a shot of a close-up of your backup or reverse camera and those 3 under lights, which are your running lights. Close-up of the 2.5-inch discharge port. Upper section here is a closed or covered hose bed. You can see that there is a warning label attached just under the hose bed. This is the point that we'll talk a little bit about some of the components here. This is going to be the latch, which allows your ladder to move to the outward or open position. The next latch on the other side allows it once again to pull outward, and then there's an additional latch which allows the ladder on the very bottom to be extended down to the ground area. This is that latch portion that allows the rest of the ladder to telescope downward to allow you to gain access to the full length of the ladder. It's currently in its full usage position, and before it was previously stowed. Just above that, you also have an additional step, and inside that you have a work light and a warning light. This is going to be additional pole storage here. Let's go ahead and look on the inside here of this compartment. This is your hose bed. It is currently a hard, rigid, closed hose bed, which has latching levers on top. In its full upright position, you can see that you have lights underneath on both the right and left side. The inner spline or divider is also movable for your hose bed. Let's look forward now at some of the compartments into the front area. But first, let me cover, you have 2 hose reels, which are your hydraulic lines. Looking forward, or from the forward position looking back, you have compartments on the right and left-hand side. These also have illumination within inside so that you can easily see deep into the compartments. This is your A-tank for your foam. Moving to the right-hand side, this is going to be your water fill location, main tank. Moving just forward of that location, you're going to find your top-mounted 90-degree smokestack or exhaust stack. This is going to be your mast for your light system. You can see here there is a warning sign that this will get hot and not to touch it. This is diesel exhaust. It gets rather hot. This is a fill location for your onboard hydraulic system. You can see here this is your master stream device. Generalized view of the passenger side of the vehicle. Let's talk a little bit about some of the compartments on this side. On the very rear compartment, starting at the very top, you have a pull-out compartment here, or pull-out shelf. There are also 2 trolleys to allow hose to run through for your high-pressure hoses. This is also an indented shelf, which allows those hoses to remain in that spot, including going down to tools that may be stored in the pull-out compartment shelf or in the lower shelf. You can see that this shelf pulls in the outright position and then tilts down for access of tools. This also has a cutout so that tools can be on the lower section while the doors are closed. You have a hydraulic reel rewind in addition for one reel, and the next button down is for the other reel. At the very bottom section here, this is going to be a pull-out shelf. On the right-hand side is the lever that allows it to be moved in the inward or outward position for locking. These are going to be the cutouts or pass-throughs for your hydraulic lines. Moving down to the very bottom section, once again, this is an additional side-mounted 9,000 pound capacity 2x2-inch attachment point and an electrical 12-volt access point. At the very top, you have a handrail in addition with warning and floodlights. Moving to the inner section of the wheel here, in these compartments, 2 bottle storage. They can handle 3 bottles each, and they also have the webbing straps here to prevent falling out while moving around in travel. Emergency light located in the midsection just above the wheel, and this is going to be a right turn or marker light. You can see through here to see the device of the on-spot chains, but let's take a look at this horizontal compartment. This compartment is completely adjustable as far as these pegboards are. They both swing in the outward position. You can mount tools on both sides of the pegboard. This is the unique portion here, is once those are in the open position, they do lock. That's the mechanism to allow it to unlock, to allow it to retract back to its original stored position. Let's move now to the tall cabinet here. This roll-up door houses a variety of different shelves and boxes. The very top shelf is a pull-out that drops down. You'll see that in the next set of images. You can see that there are ABS boxes here for organization. The next shelf down, both of them are pull-outs. They do not drop down. The very bottom section shelf here pulls out and locks in its position with additional storage boxes here. Same concept with the step on the other side. It can be utilized in this position, or releasing the latch, it will allow it to fold out just as it did on the opposite side. Let's take a look at this. This is your cab lift for lifting your cab. Secure the items, open the red cover, activate the switch, and this will tilt your cab, making sure things are secured prior to lifting it. There's no hazards above. On the pump panel, this is going to be the passenger side main inlet override. Because of the electronic valve, that's the override for it. This is going to be the number 2 passenger side override, and then just beneath that, this is your large diameter green override. Looking on the off side again, this is going to be your passenger side auxiliary intake, which is a 2.5-inch intake. This is the drain associated with that valve. This is going to be the passenger main inlet bleed. And then we'll move all the way across the bottom of the various discharges here. You can see all the way across the bottom, this is your passenger side auxiliary inlet, pump drain, large diameter, and passenger number 2 drains. Generalized view of the passenger side of the vehicle. Let's move up to the very top of this. Once again, you have on this side, tank indicator, green being full, subsequent colors all the way down to red, nearly empty, flashing empty. At the very top, you have a side-facing scene light, generalized view of the front and side of your apparatus. Let's go ahead and take a look on the inside of this cab and call out some of the components that you have within this. First, I'd like to direct your attention to all doors have this safety placard or warning label regarding seat belts and being securely seated. The red strap here is to assist in getting yourself in and out of the cab. You have manual door window locks in addition with a grab handle. This is once again that safety or warning label regarding seat belts. What I would like to direct you also to as we move to the opposite side is all doors have this exact same warning level. There are also reflective stickers on the door in case of traffic. Moving up to the very top, there is an important maintenance instructions here for the use of your vehicle as it's new. And once again, moving down to those seatbelt informational guides and helpful warning labels. Seatbelts are colored in red. They're very visible for all people to be able to identify if you have your seatbelt on. Let's go ahead and talk a little bit about some of the cab configurations on your apparatus. Let's start in the lower section down where your foot is. You can see that there is a running light down at the lower bottom. Also in this compartment, there is going to be a work light or step light. As I move to the next set of images, we'll get a closer view of that. You can see this is going to be your shore inlet. This is a 30 amp shore inlet. On the right hand side is your air chuck for air inlet. Let's go ahead and take a general view of the cab standing from outside looking in. When you're plugged into that, this will activate your auto charger to give you information on your battery status. In the upper corner on the red here, this is a warning label regarding seat belts. Down in the lower section at the driver's right-hand side, additional warning and caution labels. On the seat itself, this is a full air ride, up and down, and tilt forward and backwards. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of these warning labels, but most importantly, the warning and caution label, I'm going to direct you to this Pierce Manufacturing label here. This is for your fire department. It's your manufacturer year, Your job number also located on this placard. This is your gross vehicle weight rating in this indication here. As we move down further, you're going to find the type of chassis that you have, an enforcer cab. And as we move further down, this is the location for your VIN number. It is also located on the A-pillar of the driver's side. Moving down further, these are your fluid capacities, the types and amounts of fluid for everything that has fluid in it in your apparatus. Looking down at the brake treadle, your accelerator, and at the very bottom on the left, this is going to be your mechanical siren foot pedal. Let's go ahead and move all the way up about knee height on the left-hand side of the operator, and we'll talk a little bit about some of these switches here. This is going to be your master battery switch, quarter turn in silver. Moving to the right, this is going to be a diagnostic port for your engine and transmission. Moving down to the very bottom, you have a future location for a switch, your ABS diagnostics, addition of your DPF region switch. Moving to the very far right, your engine diagnostics switch, and also your regen inhibit switch in green. Let's go ahead and move up onto the column. This is going to be your left and right turn and pull to flash your high beams. On the actual column just down from that location, you're going to find your push for telescoping your column and also the pull for tilting your column. We'll go ahead and take a look from the operator's position as if they were sitting in the seat looking forward. And we'll start first off with your steering wheel. This is an SRS, which is an airbag inside this area in addition with a push on and off horn. Let's move to the dash area. Generalized view looking forward of the dash. We'll break down the components here in the next set of images also. Let's start on the left-hand side of the column. On the dash itself, you'll find on the left side, this is your ignition switch. And just up from that location is your start switch, which is a momentary switch. Moving just inside of that, you're going to find your emergency master switch for your running lights for emergencies. Just inside of that, you're going to find your on-off switch for your headlights and running lights. Moving inside of that, this is a rocker switch to increase or decrease the brightness of your panel. Let's move to the far right-hand side, about right-hand knee of the operator. This is the OK for high idle indicator and the switch associated with that. On the left side, you have your transmission, oil, DEF level, water, and your tachometer. Moving to the right-hand side, you have your rear air, front air, fuel, volts, and speedometer. Located in the center, you can see in the yellowed area, you have temperature, and you also have a tripometer and miles. To reset that, it's just the right-hand side, the small knob sticking out where the low ultra sulfur diesel fuel only is located. When you choose to engage the ignition switch, it will go through a series of checks, and this is one of them, which is illuminating all of the lights on the dash. Let's take a look on the left-hand side, an important label coming from the manufacturer, your height, length, gross vehicle weight, and your job, number 29802. Generalized view of the right of the operator. We'll break down the components in the next set of images here. This is going to be your pull to apply your system parking brake and push to release. On the right-hand side, this is going to be your Allison transmission pad with a pump in neutral. Looking as a general view here of the front of your apparatus in this section, we're going to look at the first. This is going to be your monitor for your backup camera. Moving just beneath that, you have an engine brake on-off, select high, medium, or low, mirror heat, a load manager. This is the location to engage your off-road traction devices and also your tire chains. Just to the right of that, you can see that was your windshield wiper push for fluid and also to turn on the windshield wipers. On the lower section here, we have your water pump, stationary OK to pump and roll, and your foam system engage and a few future switch locations. This is that windshield wiper push to engage fluids. to wash the windshield, and then an adjustment is the twist for low, medium, and high. Let's move over to the center section of your cab. In the center section here, this is your climate control. You have your heat and defroster, and you also have heat and air conditioning. Just beneath that, you can see a barrel style 12-volt access point. Looking overhead of the operator, there is a bank of switches. We're going to drill down on some of those switches here in the next set of images. Let's go ahead and take a look. Mounted in the very center underneath here, this is going to be at the driver's head. This is a red indicator light that you have a compartment ajar with an audible warning device. On the left-hand side, over the operator's head, emergency master, roof light, front, side, and rear and upper warning lights. Moving to the right, this is your Opticom, siren brake, siren horn or siren, electric and dominator light bar, and perimeter lights. This is going to give you your engine pressure digitally, and to the right of that is your water tank. Moving to the center, this is going to be your Pierce indicated for seat belts. Red, no one is belted. Green, someone is in the seat occupying it and it is belted. Overhead, you have the Firecom headset system. These are the locations for plugging that in. In the center, over the operator's head and over the passenger, you have a push on and off white or red selection here on this light. Alongside the door column here, this is going to be a shore outlet, and this is once again the warning label for the rear seats for buckling up. Let's go ahead and look inside the cab. You have two rear-facing SCBA mounted seats. In the center, you'll find an access door, which gains access for checking of fluids in your engine, and also just hidden kind of up in the very left-hand side, this is your S1 breaker panel. This is for shore power, is what the S stands for, and then you have the individual breakers for on and off. Looking inside that access panel for your engine and transmission, this has a light inside for visual. You have compartments here with roll-up doors that are locking on both the rear and the front section of your apparatus. Inside there are adjustable shelves. They also have illumination with inside. In addition with that, you have shore power access with plug-ins in these locations also. This is going to be your 20 amp shoreline outlet. Generalized view from the rear section looking forward. Let's talk a little bit about the front cab. Once again, seatbelt information on the door. Let's start. This is the fill location for your windshield wipers. Moving up from that location, this is equipped with a supplemental restraint system, SRS airbags. Down at the very bottom, this is an access door for electronics behind this, but that sign is indicating for your SRS and not blocking that. At the very top, you'll notice these white with candy cane striped red. These are informational placards that have wire information behind and not to drill into these compartments. It also gives the information as to where those wires are. In the passenger seat, you have a full access to SCBA seat. It is controlled air ride in the very front for raising and lowering. Let's go ahead and look down at the foot pedals here. On the passenger side, you have an air horn and a mechanical siren. Looking up at those candy cane stickered here, this is going to be where those spare wires are located, and it gives descriptions as to what's behind those. On the left-hand side of the passenger, at the very top, you have two barrel-style 12-volt, and then at the very bottom, you have the USB-style 12-volt access. Let's go ahead and look overhead of the passenger. Overhead of the passenger, you can see on the very far right-hand side, this is your siren and PA. Moving just in from that location, from the siren and the PA, you're going to find the system for your Firecom headsets. This is your volume control, radio, and auxiliary control location. Moving inside of this, you'll find the front flood, driver side, passenger side, and rear floods. You'll also find driver and passenger cab scene lights in this location. Congratulations on your new apparatus, Redmond, Oregon, job number 29802. If you have any questions as to the content of this video or any questions regarding any of the information that was covered, please utilize and contact your Hughes Fire sales representative. Congratulations and good luck with your new apparatus. Thank you.